was this?
This is flaming vodka!
Oh, okay, face. First, take a big step back and literally your own face! Now, I don't know what kind of pan-Pacific bullshit power play you're trying to pull here. So whatever you're thinking, you better think again. Otherwise, I'm gonna have to head down there, and I will rain down on a godly firestorm upon you. I am talking scorched earth, motherfucker! I will massacre you! I will you up!
What's up, guys? It's Benny. I don't like to brag, but I think that I am the only person in American history to ever say the words big balls to a White House press secretary live at the White House. Here's that moment from a few weeks ago.
Given the heroic actions of a member of this administration just a few blocks from this building, will the president consider giving the Presidential Medal of Freedom to big balls?
I haven't spoken to him about that, but perhaps it's something he would consider. I'll ask him and get back to you, Benny. Thanks for being here.
So, a moment of levity for Caroline Leavitt, but a very serious topic. My opening question, when I got the honor of being in the new media seat at the White House, was to excoriate the journalists in the room who damn well know that D.C. is a kill box. D.C. is a failed narco state that is unsafe for absolutely everyone, including some of the left-wing reporters in that room, members of the Trump administration, and so on. It was also unsafe for my family that barely escaped with our lives in Washington, D.C. when D.C. defunded their police and they decided to create an absolute hellscape for the families living there. I had a newborn child at the time when there was a spate of horrible gang violence on my block leading to an arson in the home that shared a wall with me. It's called a row house. This is the style of house that is very prominent in Washington, D.C. And as you can see right here in this photograph and in this video that I will show you, all of the direct evidence of what happened, the home that is next to mine, that's my home, that's my child's nursery right there. Right there. That white building, that's my home. This building right here, that is the house that was set ablaze. Now, horrifyingly, 2 of their dogs were killed in this fire. It was a deadly fire. It was a huge emergency. My house was rendered unlivable in the fire. You can see here the smoke pouring into my home. You can see here the house completely ablaze, the fire department there outside. Here's the video from my security camera. This is them breaking down the door of my neighbor's home that was set ablaze in the arson. There's all the smoke pouring into the room of my newborn baby. This is DC Police. That's my door right here. This is DC Police Department ripping open my door with a crowbar. It was such an emergency to get the child out of my house. They were doing this because people kept screaming, "There's a baby in that house." Watch. They rip open my door with a crowbar, and then my terrified wife and newborn baby go running out of the home as cops surround the block. The fire department arrives. My wife is distraught. It's hard to watch this. I would never put this up on the channel. Do my very best to try and be recent with the news, but given the fact that Donald Trump wishes to clean up the lawless, failed narco hell state that is Washington, and I nearly lost everything in this, the single worst day of my life. I just talked about it at the White House. Well, I thought we'd play this, given the fact that I got a text message from a New York Times reporter saying none of this is true, which I find completely wild, ladies and gentlemen, that even in the long and horrific season that the New York Times has had, where they're bleeding subscribers, where they're collapsing as a business model, where they've been called fake news, when they've been proven to be fake news, when they're going to have their Pulitzers stripped away from them, when they've been totally and completely torn asunder, nobody trusts them at all. They still continue to attack people who nearly had their children and wife die in a fire. And there's physical, video, photo, police, fire department evidence of all of it, and they refuse to believe it. So wild. This, by the way, is the neighbor's home. It was burned to cinders. This is my home. It suffered horrible fire damage. That's what happened. This is the back of their home. As you can see here, a complete and total loss. But ladies and gentlemen, this doesn't stop a reporter from the New York Times saying that I told falsehoods at the White House. And what does he mean by that? This is Ken Benzinger, who texted me and said, I went through and looked in the records, and it looks like there wasn't an actual murder on your block since 2017. By the way, that's not true. And also, your house, there's no proof that your house was burned. No proof at all, just like the photos and the videos of it happening, but there's no proof here. We're not allowed to be sympathetic towards you. These people wanted my family to die in a fire. That's what they wanted. They're angry that my kids and wife survived. And the New York Times has just written a hit piece on me where they claimed that I wasn't telling the truth here, which I find to be fascinating about all of this. They said that it recounts what he claimed was his own experience with crime. Johnson took the opportunity to recount what he claimed was his own experience with crime in the nation's capital. And he said he recorded murders outside of his home on his camera, and his house was set ablaze in an arson. Well, hey, dumbass, it literally was. And that his wife and children had, and then he excoriated Washington for dangerous lies that they're telling about DC crime. And Carolyn Levitt says, thanks a lot. And it's true. However, and they got me here, man. It turns out that 3 people were shot on my cameras and in my front yard in an attempted murder. But guess what? The gangbangers survived. So they got me there. And that my house, according to police records, was not set ablaze. Really? Very interesting. Let's go through some of the claims here. You have to go all the way down to the very bottom of the piece here. So they do this whole thing about how much they hate me, right? And how successful we've been and what an incredible audience this is. And you have to go all the way down here to the very bottom to say that Mr. Johnson jumped into the conversation, posting a video the next morning, says it hits near and dear to my heart. My family nearly died. My home was burned and that people were murdered. Several days later, he posted footage on X of his security camera that shows what life was like living in DC, because I have it all on camera. It's all on camera. And by the way, there's so much that I don't have on camera that were also horrible. The edited video, look at that, includes the sound of a gunshot, someone crashing through the bush in his front yard, Mr. Johnson's row, edited video. What do you mean edited video? It's video directly from my security camera, followed by firefighters and police officers ramming through the door of the adjoining home and smoke billowing into the property. Without question, the area of northeast Washington, D.C., where Mr. Johnson lived, has a long problem with violent crime. And on October 24th, 2020, the Metropolitan Police Department did investigate a shooting on Mr. Johnson's block. 3 people were transported to the hospital with threatening injuries. One of them who lived in the house next door to Mr. Johnson. Oh, okay, got it. So there's just like a attempted mass murder on my block. But no one was murdered. Oh, okay. I wonder if this was, if this was like your house. Like, would you want to raise your family here? In a separate report, the Washington, D.C. Fire Department described a fire that was intentionally set, it's called an arson, in the morning of the shooting. But in the neighboring house, look at that, neighboring house, not Mr. Johnson's, the fire department was able to put out the fire in just about 20 minutes. 2 dogs did die in the fire. The dogs are actually bigger than my infant child. And those dogs are dead. The security footage reviewed by the time showed Mr. Johnson's wife and child being escorted out of the house, but no people were injured. Oh, okay, they got me there. Mr. Johnson's home was not burned by the fire. Records show that he sold it and relocated to Florida. A move he describes as personally escaping communism. Well, I like that, by the way. Okay, so records show that that it was not burned in the fire. Well, not my insurance records, not the records that I provided the New York Times. What's amazing is that they texted me about this and asked me about this, and I sent them everything. I sent them the videos. I sent them everything. I was on vacation for the last couple of weeks. I was traveling with my family. So I told them that. I said, like, listen, I take very little time off. But this is the time that I have with my family. Talk to a spokesperson that works with me. Talk to my attorney. They'll give you everything, right? So they have everything. But they still write this. They still write this. They're sick. These people, they're sick. And I've destroyed them. Now, I mean, my post destroying their article has gotten more views than the article, probably orders of magnitude more views than the article. New York Times wrote a hit piece targeting my wife and children. The angle is that there's no proof that my newborn child was in any danger in D.C. when her home was damaged by an arsonist. So I'm posting the proof here. Watch my security camera capture D.C. police officers using a crowbar to rip open my front door. There's a baby inside. Black smoke from the inferno fills my child's nursery. Moments later, my terrified wife runs out of the home with our newborn in her arms. We lived in a row house, and the house next to us was a total loss. Both the dogs were burned alive in the arson. Our home was rendered completely uninhabitable due to fire damage. We had to live in a hotel for months afterwards. I eventually moved. This was the worst day of my life, and I almost lost everything, and I moved to Florida swiftly afterwards. In spite of all this hard evidence and police reports, the New York Times still does not think my wife or newborn were in any danger. Really, like, if you were a parent and this was happening to your children, do you think they'd be in danger? Ken Bensinger? This is a kind of dehumanizing propaganda that actually gets people killed. And this is where, this is where it really plucks a nerve for me. You're not allowed. The New York Times doesn't believe that you are allowed sympathy. They don't want any. There's no quarter for their political enemies. They need to see you. They see you as less than human. They see you as subhuman. If you are a Republican or a conservative or an independent thinker, you are subhuman. You are not allowed to have sympathetic things happen to you. You are not allowed to have humanizing things happen to you, like the loss of a child that anyone can universally experience. And it can be horrifying no matter who you are. So you can't grant that to me. This is what sick, demonic monsters these people are. They are literal demons. This guy's a literal demon. From the celebration of the Trump assassination, remember that? They were all like cheering just this week that they thought that President Trump was dead. They were cheering just this week. They did the same thing with Margaret Thatcher. The same thing with the child victims in Minneapolis, mass shooting. They couldn't even pray for them. These people are literal demons. The left's goal has never been to grant sympathy to regular Americans, even if they're innocent children. They're evil bastards. Judge a man by his enemies. I'm proud to have New York Times work so hard on a hit piece about me. It's a badge of honor and a rite of passage in the industry. I'll leave my children and wife out of it. My attorneys have notified the New York Times that we will not suffer defamation or libel against my family. Tread lightly. Florida juries don't take kindly to New York left-wing political assassins attacking innocent Floridian children. And finally, I'm very proud to fight with the Trump administration for the security of every American parent. No matter your background or politics, you have a right to security in your homeland, and especially in America's capital city. There are those who think otherwise. This is what we're fighting for. Now, this has done millions of views, 31,000 reposts, 1,000 saves, 8,000 reposts, 31,000 likes, and 1,000 saves. Let's give you the happy part of the story. My newborn daughter, Eloise, was trapped in the fire. She was saved by the heroic actions of my wife and the DC Police and Fire Department. Here she is, thriving today. Praise God. That's my baby right there. I also have other babies. Here they are. Happy about my family. I'm proud of my family. God always has a plan. Since moving to Florida, our family has grown and thrived. We are living the American dream. And that's what the commies at the New York Times really hate. We're happy and they're miserable. We win. Yeah. This is what it looks like. This is what wealth looks like. I'm winning, son. You winning, son? Yeah, I'm winning, son. And by the way, in case you're wondering what kind of a monster Ken Bensinger is of the New York Times, here's Ken's direct text message to me, declaring that I could not confirm my family was in danger in spite of the police video evidence and the dogs being burned alive. They're sick demons. Look at this. He says no humans were injured, although 2 dogs were killed. And then he says here, this is direct text message to me. You stated that your wife and children's lives were put at risk and they nearly died. This cannot be confirmed or denied based on the police and fire reports, which make no mention of the neighbors being at risk. I don't know if reporter Ken Bensinger has children, but I wonder if he'd think his children were in danger or not if that was their bedroom window and this was happening next to their room. Would Ken Bensinger think that his child was in danger? It really is remarkable how grotesque and goblin-like these people are. It's absolutely clear that what Ken Bensinger of the New York Times wanted was for my wife and children to die in the fire or to be shot. The fact that they were saved and my family is alive and thriving today makes Ken and the New York Times very angry. It's bad faith reporting, and it's absolutely demonic stuff. No one was murdered. The arson was put out, and only 2 dogs died. This is fine. Everything is fine. He's just getting destroyed here. New York Times attacks Benny Johnson for exaggerating DC crime. And then you get to the end of the piece and find this. Amazing. It's one of the strangest hit pieces I've ever read about Benny Johnson. Mass shooting and arson took place. His family could have been killed. But since the gangbanger who was shot didn't die, it wasn't a big deal. Like what? Yeah, okay. Perhaps there's a reason why the New York Times reporter wears a bag on his head. That's right. Here it is, right here. Yeah. There's his account. Okay, got it. Like 10 followers, by the way. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. What a joke. They're absolutely vile. This is why they really hate your beautiful American family. Gutter trash. And this looks terrifying. It could have ended way worse. Glad your family was spared greater harm. New York Times is complete garbage. They prove that every single day. Yeah. Just a reminder, this is what we're fighting against and also what we're fighting for, ladies and gentlemen. And that the New York Times is fake news. Godless swine. Happy to defeat them, though. Glad that we're bigger than they are. And the truth will set you free. Just remember who you're fighting. Fighting actual, literal evil. That's what this is. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. See ya.